everybody. Sorry, I know it's been a while, but here I am back again with a look at the week ahead for you through Vedic astrology. Been catching up with a lot of clients lately. Had a backlog and still working on that backlog, but it's delayed me on doing some videos. I'm hoping to have that cleared up in the next week and then be back to doing some extra videos aside from the weekly. I think for now we're going to stick with the weekly going from Monday to Sunday because that's where we're at with the present moment. Lots of exciting things happening on this end. Actually back by a seaside town that I lived in once before, and it's really quite lovely here, and enjoying my time here and settling in and dealing with Mars retrograde or the approaching Mars retrograde, I should say. So again, this is a look at the week ahead from the 11th through the 17th of April 2016. And Mars retrograde is big on the equation. And if you have prominent, important planets, let's say your ascendant or your moon or your sun in Scorpio or Aries, well, you're likely feeling it right now. And Mars is that planet of action, that planet of motivation, that planet of passion, that planet of will. And when he starts to slow down, sometimes it can feel quite literally like we just don't have any energy if you're one of those people, especially who has prominent planets placed in those particular positions. And over the course of the week, Mars is going to slow further and further until on the 17th of April. Did I say April or March at the beginning? It's April 11th through 17th, in case I didn't say that. Finally, on the 17th, he's going to station and then is going to begin his retrograde cycle. So that's the big news on the agenda in terms of that. And if you feel like you're vacillating, like trying to make a decision, but not really having the motivation to take action, well, that's all part and parcel of the energy this week. Some it may feel even as if you're in a state of limbo, waiting for something to happen. Part of you might feel a little bit frustrated because of that. You're not really sure if you have the strength to act in relation to something that's partially Mars, but it's also the position of the sun and what the sun's doing, and kind of beginning to take away a little bit of confidence. So we have key aspects this week, mainly involving Jupiter and Saturn. And so it's no wonder that maybe the brakes are on a little bit in terms of the Mars energy, with Mars slowing down. And Mars is in Ashadha Nakshatra, and it's going to station in Ashadha Nakshatra. I want to start this week by talking about an aspect that's going to be happening between Mercury and Mars, because Mars is in Mercury's nakshatra. Mars is in Ashadha Nakshatra, as is Saturn. And Mercury is strong at the moment. So there's the potential for insight and growing insight. And that's one of the things that Ashadha can really help with and give you a wider perspective. Ashadha, I often like to explain, is associated with Indra, the king of the gods. And if you see Indra, he's often shown with a disc spinning on his finger, and that disc is called Sudarshana Chakra. And with Sudarshana Chakra, he has the capacity to cut through illusion, right? So basically, Ashadha Nakshatra gives the capacity to do that, and then the strength to rise above difficult circumstances. Mars will make you feel, while he's slowing down, like that strength is waning. The sun, due to its position, will equally make you feel that. So we're going to talk about Mercury's aspect to Mars first, and the sun's aspect to Jupiter. So Mercury is in Bharani Nakshatra, and there's a transition that's happening. transition in a way of thinking, a way that you're relating to things. Whereas before you may have had a difficult time letting go of something, your mind is now adjusting and ready to shift to a new cycle of your life relevant to whatever Mercury is associated in your particular chart. And if you'd like to know about that, you can schedule a consultation with me at the link below, if that link is still up. If not, you'll see it at the end of the video. So letting go where you weren't really able to let go before. Being a little more flexible with the situation. Letting yourself adjust as you're beginning to see things on a deeper level. The sun is in Revati Nakshatra. And while the sun is in Revati Nakshatra, Revati, as I have stated many times before, marks that ending of one cycle of being, when the next cycle has not yet begun. So the sun is going to shift from Revati Nakshatra into Ashwini Nakshatra towards the end of the week. And when that happens, then there's going to be the desire to explore fresh territory, but perhaps the lack of confidence inside of yourself to do that particular thing. And that can have a tendency to make you feel a little bit frustrated. Ashwini is ruled by Ketu, and we've got Ketu in Purva Bhadrapada Nakshatra, and not supported by a very strong Jupiter. But again, this can all work in your favor, right? So even though there can be frustration and difficulty, which you don't like to have, it's something that can help. And with Jupiter in Purva Phalguni Nakshatra, let's talk about Purva Phalguni. Well, both Purva Phalguni and Bharani, which is where Mercury is, are ruled by Venus. So Venus is very strong this week and is growing stronger by the moment. So Purva Phalguni, think of Purva Phalguni as the coming together of a marriage, right? So that marriage can, sure, it can be between two people, and people often look at Purva Phalguni in that particular way or manner, but equally it's about you beginning to come together with yourself, right? Purva Phalguni is symbolized by a cot, and it used to be used, it can be looked at as for lack of a better way to put it, the marital bed on one level, but also a place of rest. A place of rest for energy to come together, and for one to enjoy or take in what has come previously in one's journey and integrate that for the next stage of the journey. Now, Jupiter being weak is not quite ready to expand, but that Purva Phalguni energy is giving you the capacity to be steady and stable and really take a lot of this information in so that in the coming days, you are actually in a position where you feel a little more willing to act. And that's going to be heightened by Mercury forming an aspect with Jupiter this week. So lurking in the background over the course of the week, we've got Saturn forming an aspect to Jupiter. That's been ongoing for a while and is still continuing. In addition to that, we've got Mars and Saturn conjuncting each other, and that's ongoing for a little while too. As Mars begins to station retrograde. So all the aspects to Mars this week are very powerful as Mars begins to slow down, okay? So Saturn being in Jeshta and Mars being in Jeshta, well, for lack of a better way to put it, on many levels, the brakes are on, right? Why are the brakes on? Why does it feel like the brakes are on some level? Sure, your life may be moving in some ways and maybe really quickly in other ways, but there's one area of your life where it feels like the brakes are on in terms of an important decision or an important shift. So why are they on? Well, you're needing to gain perspective. You're needing to take a look at things. You're needing to not go into things so powerfully with your will or trying to make things happen or force things to happen. Instead, you're supposed to get a clearer picture, a clearer image of what actually does need to come together in the coming days and in the coming weeks. And so you may be lacking confidence or the capacity to take action right now, but really it's good that you do, because it's not really the right time. Instead, it's a time for looking. It's a time for seeing. It's a time for understanding and beginning to let go. Venus, I often talk about Venus and Jupiter, and I've done that in the last few weeks. There's been a lot of aspects between Venus and Jupiter in the last few weeks. So Venus and Jupiter are aspecting each other again, and Venus in Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra. Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra can bring, one of the things that it does is it dispels ignorance, right? In terms of dispelling that ignorance, it also gives the passion or zeal or the discipline with which to take action, the inspiration. The Venus is a planet that can be rajasic and make you feel inspired inside of yourself in order to take action and to be determined to take that action, right? And Venus is then going to shift into Revati Nakshatra, where the developments can begin to take place. Venus forming an aspect to Jupiter, well, Jupiter is in Purva Palguni, so that's very good. Jupiter is the minister in spiritual wisdom. Venus is the minister in worldly affairs. So while the worldly affairs side of it is coming together, Jupiter is needing to have the brakes on the expansion side of things so that action isn't taken too quickly. And so that's actually good in the coming days. Even though it may feel difficult, even though it may feel on one level like you're ready for transition to happen now, because you've been dealing with something which you have not really been that comfortable dealing with. And you're ready for a shift. And you feel this desire inside of yourself for a change to come into being. Well, all of these planets this week, with the exception of the Sun early in the week and Venus later in the week, right? They're all in Artha Nakshatras, which are about goal-directed activity, or Kama Nakshatras, which is about the desire. So the desire to act is building inside of you. But when Venus shifts into Revati, which is a Moksha Nakshatra, things are going to start developing. Things are going to start coming together. And that's going to happen later on in the week, right? Mars will then have been stationed. You're still going to need to wait a little bit of time until Mars, begins after like a week and a half or so, begins to pick up a little speed in its retrograde motion. And it's not that all action needs to stop during Mars retrograde. Many things still happen during Mars retrograde. But many times we may feel like we lack the motivation or lack the passion, right? So take a look at it. If you feel like that passion is lacking and you need to continue while Mars is still retrograde, to take a deeper look at the things that are going on in your life before you do take action when it does shift back to forward motion, which I haven't noted down the date that it shifts direct, but I will put that in the text beneath in the description for you to take a look at and read that so you can see when it does shift back to direction. So if you want to wait until it shifts to direct motion to take action, sure, all the better for you. But if that need is there after Venus at the end of the week begins to shift, if the developments begin to take place, then move with those developments. You don't have to wait for Mars to go direct. When Mars retrogrades, he's going to go internal and he's going to root out all those things inside of you that are keeping you from taking the steps that you need to take. When Mars goes retrograde, he kind of works like a bit of a cosmic surgeon. He goes inside, he clears things out, he purifies things, he purges. Mars, on many levels, relates to the blood, so to speak, right? So that's the things that move inside of us. Mars moves, right? So he's going to move things inside of us. So if you feel that the time for action is right after the end of the week, you don't have to wait, right? I know a lot of people get hung up on not doing anything during retrograde planet cycles, but that's not always the case, right? So a lot of developments taking place. If you feel a lack of confidence right now, don't let that get to you too much. It's for a reason. Go with the flow. Try to integrate what's going on. Try to take a look at the purification that's happening. And when that purification begins to take deeper root, then some further developments. events will happen that can begin to shift you in the direction you're looking to shift towards. That's going to do it for a look at the week of the 11th to the 17th of April through Vedic astrology. Until next week, please take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.